What's up, everybody? Party Science here with Lefty. Today, I have none other than the kings of eBay, the estate king, Brian Averback. Pleasure.
Very nice to see you.
Sorry, I locked you in and then I went for the for the handshake. Sorry about that.
Should have done it over the.
Yeah, I should have probably thought that one out better. So just to kind of jump into it, man, I really want to know how all this started. Like, where did it what was that day? Like, what was going on that day that made you be like, this is what I'm going to do?
So, weirdly enough, my brother and I both started doing things at 14 that we're still doing now in our 40s. Not many people can say that, but when I was 14, I started selling on eBay. And that was back in 1997. And that was a long time ago, 27 years. And my brother at 14 started DJing. And he owns a large DJ and entertainment company, and I own a estate sale and eBay business and all that stuff. So it was just kind of a weird thing where one day we were watching TV, Channel 4 News, and they had one of those, Channel 5, and one of those things where they had one of those, this website that you've never heard of before. You want to sell all your old crap and make a ton of money. Watch it, at this 5 o'clock hour. And I was like, well, I like money, and I'd like to make money. So I thought it made sense to watch it, and I did with my mom. And it was about this new website called eBay, where you could just sell all your stuff. So I have no personal attachment to any of my items at all, zero. So I thought it made the most sense to just go through my room, and I sold every single thing I owned. Come to find out that I was starting to make a lot of money off of my old crap.
What was the first item you sold? Like,
It's not so much even the first item, because I think it might have been like a Cam Neely puck that I won in like elementary school raffle or something. It was like one of those things. The thing that always comes to my mind was CDs. So back in the late 90s, CDs, you could go to a store and there'd be a dollar bin CD. Okay, late 90s CDs, I know, I've already aged myself a lot, but you would go and see, Aladdin soundtrack. I mean, things like that came out in like 93, and now by like 97, it was like $1 to get. But those CDs had a tariff in the UK. So if you wanted to buy one of those CDs even used internationally in the late 90s, if you lived in Europe, it was like $35, $40 a CD.
holy shit.
But I could get them for $1, and I could sell them for 20 to 25, 17, 25, something like that a piece. Now back then it was also only $3.28 to ship a CD to the UK. A lot different now, obviously.
Sure.
But what I was able to do is sell all my CDs, made a fortune, and then I started buying all the dollar bin CDs. And then next thing you know, I started buying out CD stores that were closing, and then I started out buying business after business after business that was closing. For some reason, in the late 90s, everyone thought it was a good idea to open up a video game / CD store / DVD store, and it would be grand opening, grand closing, and I would buy them out. At 15, I started buying out stores, and I haven't stopped.
So the first store was a CD store?
First store was a homegrown CD store that somebody decided to open one up in a strip mall, and that was the first store I ever bought out.
So you start off with CDs being the main focus, it seems like. And then when did it start becoming the idea of like, holy shit, this is maybe what I'm going to do the rest of my life?
Well, I was making, by the time I was 15, I was making more money than my principal. So I realized...
How'd that feel?
It was cool because my principal was an asshole. I have no problem saying that. Yeah, he was not a good person. I did not have a good time in high school. I didn't enjoy it at all. But I did that research because I was someone who's always been very money motivated, very driven. I never really cared about the years of the Spanish-American War, but I did care about profit margins and scaling and all that. They say like Beethoven was just someone that could just sit down on a piano, never needed lessons. Well, with me, I didn't need that with business. It just made sense to me. I understood I have an item that I could sell it and people wanted it. No one taught me supply and demand until I was later in life. It just made sense to me. I started selling candy in first grade, and I never stopped and was making a ton of money selling candy. I always understood if there's a product or a service that I can offer somebody that I can get paid for and there's a market for it, I'll figure out a way to monetize literally anything. And I've been doing it since I was 6. So business has always been something that made sense to me, and I had a long career in sales. I spent over a decade doing enterprise sales, which is like the top 1% of sales, selling into Fortune 50 and Fortune 10 companies. I've gotten deals with everyone from GE to Walmart. I'm the one that they would call in at the company to go in and close those large seven-figure deals with these companies, because it's just, I'm not scared of being in a boardroom with C-level executives. And I've been able to transfer that mentality of learning how to send a cold email and being able to have that phone call and not being afraid of the phone and doing that to my own business, which is why I've been able to make my business successful.
What was it like doing that when you were doing the Fortune 10 and 50 companies? What was it like walking the very first time? What was it like?
So for me, I think where it really kind of hit me was when I was in GE's boardroom. And that was when they were in Connecticut. It was a long time ago. And that's when they were also a Fortune 10 company. I don't think they are anymore. But at the time, going down there, driving from Boston to Connecticut, and going in there and having meetings with, C-level just means chief whatever officer.
Exactly, yeah.
But having that meeting, it's step one's getting the meeting. Step two is closing the deal, So being able to just get that meeting is not easy. But then being able to go in there and get that deal done, it teaches you a lot. And it also teaches you, there's the old saying that you treat the CEO with the same respect that you treat the janitor. And I always kind of had that mentality where I don't ever think anyone's above me or below me. I like to think of everybody as even. And of course, the decisions people make in life dictate, where they go at that point. But I've always tried to be somebody that wants to be positive and wants to be somebody that can have those conversations. And a lot of people in sales, their biggest mistake is when they go in and they speak to someone that's the highest level of any company, they stumble, oh, hello, yeah, and they stumble over themselves. You just shoot the shit. You treat them like anybody else. You talk to them like anybody else. Just the way you and I are talking. I don't care if you're the CEO of a company. It doesn't matter to me. I have that same connection with somebody where you have that conversation. And I found that is the differentiator between those who are successful in sales and those who aren't, are the ones that are willing to make that phone call or get that meeting or knows how to get around a gatekeeper, secretary, or whatever. It's not rocket science. It's just persistence.
Right. Yeah, when I was doing sales, I was always told you should make at least 7 different attempts to close the sale in terms of like how you reach out to them before you gave up on a sale. Because most people, after they try once and got no reply, then they would pretty much like, maybe they tried one more time and then they gave up by the third time thinking that potential client could even be a client. So I am a huge fan of what you're saying there in terms of persistence. Now, how do you think that converted here? Is it, you think it's gotten to the point where you were negotiating a boardroom before is now what you're negotiating when you're at these estate sales? Like, how do you feel it's converted between the two?
So most people have a fear of negotiation, a fear of conflict, a fear of those things. I've lost that fear a long time ago. I had it beaten out of me of being in a million fights when I was younger. It's like, there's an old saying of, you can tell who's been punched in the face. And it's one of those things where, not supporting violence, but I'm saying later in life, you can tell the people who've been hit in the face and who haven't. Because it's those people that are able to have taken that hit and realized, I lived. Okay, I can keep going, I can keep moving forward. And I've been able to take that mentality of now when it comes to sales and doing negotiations. At my estate sales, I have a new negotiation every 30 seconds. Now, to some people, that would be their greatest fear of having to negotiate anything, or yet again, having 100 negotiations in an hour. It's not an easy thing, but for me, I love it. I have a few things with this business that are my favorite things to do. The estate sales and negotiating is, top 5 for me. So when I'm there and someone's made a pile of stuff, and they go, okay, how much for all this? And I really want 50. And I go, give me 100. And they're like, $100? Are you kidding me? And it's like, let the games begin. It's like, let's go. And sometimes, you get them at 80. Sometimes you get them at 100. Sometimes they say, I'm only going to give you 20. And you tell them to put it back. And at that point, they look at you like you have 3 heads. I'm going to put it back? Yeah, dude, I'm not going to sell that to you for $20. You can put it back. The biggest thing is when you own real estate, like an estate sale company, is you learn the people who give you the most trouble are the ones who want to spend the least amount of money. The woman who wants to give you $2 for a Pyrex dish, and when you say give me 5, is screaming at you. You know what I mean? Like those are the people where it's like, well, I think I can live without your $2. And as friendly as you can say, there's the door, you say it. Because you don't want to have that one person, this is with any business. You never want to be able to have one or two people ruin your experience for the next 98. Because if you're a 1% or 2% of people that are going to be assholes at an estate sale, you know, it's turned, there's people who stop doing estate sales, stop doing it over those 1 or 2%. I've had people scream at me over nonsense. And you want to say to them, like, hey, like, calm down. Like, you know, those pair of shoes, really, it's not that big of a deal. Like, let's figure this out. I've had to walk people out. I haven't yet had to call the police, but I've gotten really close a few times with people who've tried to shut down my sales going crazy. And it's just, whenever you invite the public into an area where they normally aren't, which is someone's private home where you're selling all the contents, things sometimes can get out of hand. But luckily, I have a great team of people behind me. I'm not, you know, afraid of if those things happen. Plus, I have a license to carry. So that helps too. And I recommend for everybody in Massachusetts in this day and age, if you can get an LTC permit, get an LTC.
I second that
Yeah.
heavily. Yes. So tell me what it was like doing your first estate sale. Like, how did you get that estate sale to be like something you manage? And then how did it go?
So before I had the company that's now called the Estate Kings, it was really just the idea of I knew how to do estate sales. And I had a business partner that I don't talk to anymore. We had a very bad falling out. I'm not going to get into details, but you learn in this business there's people who you can trust and people who you can't. And I didn't know at the time he was someone that I couldn't. So we ended up doing an estate, and the estate was brought to me, where I was asked, do you do estate sales? And at the time I was like, yeah, sure, of course. Because I mean, you know, the old Richard Branson of even if you don't know what you're doing, you just say you do and you figure it out later. So I was like, yeah, of course, yeah, no problem. I can do an estate sale. And this was like a long time ago. And the guy's like, yeah, I've got this $1 million property that's my wife's, and it's full of stuff. And you know, we're looking, we'd like to just have an estate sale. The property's already under agreement. We just got to get everything out of there. Would you be able to do that and then empty the house out of everything so it's ready for sale? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Had no clue at that point of like what exactly to do. But I had somebody who I wanted as a mentor, but just was not. It was just someone who wasn't really out for my best interests. And you learn these things. You make
Sure.
everybody in business, you make these mistakes. When you're somebody that's really hungry and you really want to be successful, you look for people to be your mentor. You look for people that are going to be, I don't even know the right word. You want someone that is going to teach you stuff that's more knowledgeable than you, that you want to put your faith and trust into a human being. And time after time for me, and I'm sure for many other people, I put my trust in the wrong person. But he said to me, let's go, let's look at the house, and ended up doing a buyout, which is an option for the estate sale, which is instead of giving a percentage to the family, you just say, hey, I'll buy everything in the house for this number. Him and I went halvesies, and it just turned into something where, oh my God, we're getting $500 for that. We're getting $300 for this couch that looks like it should be thrown away. All these Hummels that are dog shit someone just gave us $400 for this collection of Hummels. Like, stuff that to me, I was like, oh my God. But you realize there's an ass for every seat. There's a collector for everything. There's someone who wants all the clothes that most people would just throw away to Goodwill. Well, guess what? We made $700 on that. All these suits that probably should have gone to Goodwill. Someone came with a truck and gave us $1,500 for all the suits. Like, it added up and it added up and it added up. And I realized what I was making in it's not just a day of work or 2 days of work for the estate sale. It's a week plus of the preparation. It's doing all that. But let's just even call it 2 weeks between the sale and the cleanup and getting it all done. You know, what I made in that 2 weeks is more than what most people would have made in 3 or 4 months of work. And that's when it said to me, this is everything that I'm good at. I'm good at knowing what everything in a house is worth because I'm a certified personal property appraiser. I'm good at negotiating. I'm a licensed auctioneer. I know on top of everything, like how to negotiate, but also like how to get people in there through social media and things like that, just to get the right crowd mix. I've already got the teams going of people that I trust that do eBay for me, so I can bring my eBay team in and then build upon that. I was saying to myself, why didn't I make estate sales my main business 15 years ago. I wish, I mean, I'm glad I have a college degree. I do. I'm glad I have my bachelor's, but at the same time, I'm not utilizing really that degree. Whereas if I had just, instead of gone to college, just really honed in on, learned all the things I needed to for reselling at that point, where I'd be even now, I can only think about it. I mean, I'm happy with my success and where I am to this day, but I do think about, obviously, different ways my life could have gone.
I mean, you're talking about another 4 to 6 years of experience you would have got in the industry.
Yeah.
That's an amazing amount of experience, given what you do. Yeah.
It's not
absolutely.
even just the experience, it's the connections.
Right.
So most people don't realize that this business, you can be the most knowledgeable reseller on this planet. You could know what every piece of artwork, car, boat, everything is. You could walk in any room and know what 99.9% is, be someone who knows jewelry, knows everything. But if you don't have the right connections in order to get these deals to be able to, then it doesn't mean anything. So for me, it was kind of a partnership where I needed to learn the business, which, I mean, I've been doing it for 27 years. So I'm very, very knowledgeable in a lot of different areas. Jack of all trades kind of a thing, where I know all these different areas due to the fact that I've sold just about everything there is
Sure,
to sell,
yeah, yeah.
including houses. I mean,
Yeah.
I sell everything.
Yeah.
So there was that. Then the other piece was getting the connections and learning. So where do I go to get these estate sales? Where are the avenues? Okay, well, these people get them, these people get them, these people, like, how do you get to that person? And I mean, I'm not going to say the answers to that, because I mean, it cost me a lot of money and time and energy to figure that out. And it's still to this day, I could still get more business. So I'm still fighting for even more business. But I feel that every client I've had, I've been able to say, for people I've done the estate sales for, people that, I feel very strongly that they've always enjoyed what I've done. They've been happy with how much money they've gotten. The only time I've ever had people complain are people that are either for a buyout or people that show up to one of my estate sales that aren't happy that I didn't sell them something for like 10 cents on the dollar that I wanted 25 cents on the dollar. And that's where you get the anger and the, of stuff. But for the most part, I've done everything in my power to make sure that all my clients are happy and want to reuse me again.
Yeah. So what do you look for in a client when someone's looking to do an estate sale? Like, what do you look for?
I look for someone that has the authority to sell everything, including the house. So I want to sell all the contents in the house, and then I want to be able to sell the house, and then I want my clean-out team to be able to remove everything from the house and get paid for every single step along the line. My life isn't cheap. I have a lot of expenses in my life, and in order for me to be able to continue this business and continue the life that I'm used to living and having this giant warehouse I'm in now and all these things, as I'm growing the business, I have to be able to have the right margin. I have to be able to keep scaling and looking for clients that, if they just have that one house, maybe it was their parents' house, and this is it. I'm never going to get business from them again. I'll take it. But when you have somebody that deals considerably in estates, well, I want that person to shake my hand and know they can call me at any point. I'm going to take care of them.
Right. So what would, I guess this is just more my curiosity, but I like to ask, what is the process of you would go with, like, what's the process someone would go through with you if they were to do like an estate? Like, what's some of the things you help them through in terms of doing an estate sale?
So it always depends on whether or not this is their first one, if it's their parents, or if it's through an attorney or a trust or something like that. I handle it very differently. Sometimes there's no descendants, and I'm dealing with the trust, and at that point it's, hey, it's point A and it's point B. Point A is, we got all this crap we need gone. Point B is, get it all sold. And it's, send us the contract. We don't really have to have that many conversations. It's pretty simple. But for the hand-holding of people that have just lost a family member, I'd say this, and a lot of people don't like to say this, that deal in estates, is I deal in death. And I don't say that as to be braggadocious or happy about it. It's the same way that you have to be grateful that there are morticians. Now, I personally wouldn't want to be a mortician, but I'm grateful that those people have that job and exist. Whereas you may, or many other people, may not want to dig through a house of someone that just died. Be grateful that there's someone like me that will. So I tell people, because people say to me all the time about, I find your job to be morbid. I find your job to be not something that I would want to do or I would want to experience, because my job 100%, I go through the homes of people who have died. I've been in homes where people have died in the house. I've seen where their body was laying on the floor, and We're cleaning up around it. There's stuff there, but I mean, like where they fell down, that was it. I've been in hoarder houses. I've been in abandoned homes. I've been in every type of horror situation. If they could have made The Walking Dead in some of the homes that I've been in. And even people would even say, no one will even have a house like that, even in The Walking Dead. I've been in those houses. I've smelled what those houses are like. I've been in those situations. But I do it because that's my job. I'm doing it where I can then say to somebody who maybe just lost their parents and they're crying on my shoulder, which happens more often than you think, here are the steps. We're at step one. We're going to go through the house. We're going to clean out everything that is junk. My clean out team will take it. Then we're going to take everything that has value, and either we're going to do an auction, or we're going to do an estate sale, or I'm going to do a buyout, or we're going to do something else depending on what's there. There's a lot of options for selling people stuff. And once that's done, then whatever doesn't sell, clean out team yet again comes in, empties everything, broom sweeps the house, and then I sell the house or the business or whatever it is. Like, I'm licensed to be able to sell everything. The only thing I can't sell are weapons, and luckily for me, I have a partner that can. So if I get into a house that has handguns, which I get into regularly, I have a partner team that they come in and they're licensed, they have their FID, everything. They come in, they remove all of the weapons, they remove all of the ammunition, and then they sell it. And then the estate is able to get that money through there. So everything's done is done legally.
Right. What would you say is your most common thing that you sell now? Not just estate, maybe, Kings of eBay. Like, what is the most common thing that you sell that you like to sell?
So it's kind of a complicated answer because my favorite thing on earth to sell is toner.
Toner, like ink toner.
Now, I know that probably sounds absurd, but it's the fastest moving and biggest margins of stuff.
Really?
Oh, it's great. I love toner. My number one thing in the world to sell is toner. If I could just sell toner all day, that's what I would do. I love it.
I would have never put that down as like the thing.
It's the best. So you just don't want generics. You want the Xerox, the Canon, the HPs. You want that, the Konica, Minolta. Like, you want the real name brand. But you get that. I mean, if you go to buy that stuff in a store, it's $150, $200. I'm buying it from businesses that close for $5, $10, and I'm putting it on eBay for $80 to $120, and it's gone in a second. They sell. I mean, I listed, I had two things of toner. They were $280 a piece, and they were listed a week ago and sold in a day, bought from businesses that closed for pennies on the dollar. And it's everybody wins. The business that closed, happy to get whatever they could get. They don't have that printer anymore. They want it gone. Me, I'm making my money getting rid of it. And the person buying it is getting it way cheaper than they would from the manufacturer. So everybody wins in that scenario.
Right. Now, what type of advice would you give to somebody who's buying on eBay? How do they get the best quality product? Like, how do they find someone like yourself who's been doing it for years that can guarantee that they're going to get what they're saying that they're going to buy? Like, how would they go about that?
So very important with eBay is checking someone's feedback. So I have close to, I think, 17,000 feedback. I've been on eBay for 27 years, but my current account I've had since 2005. So you're able to then look at my feedback and be able to say, hey, this is somebody that I know I can trust. But you also want to be able to see if they've sold those items before. You can check out their sold listings. You're able to check out them as a whole as like their store. I mean, my store right now I think has over 2,600 different items, over 5,000 total items if you include doubles at this very moment as we're speaking. That can change at any point.
Sure.
But the most important thing is if you want someone to sell the stuff for you and consign it, make sure you find somebody that you trust is going to do a good job, someone that has a setup, someone that can take it, and somebody that you know is going to take your stuff and you're actually going to get the money and they're not just going to disappear.
Right.
So sometimes people will post on Facebook, I have this collection of stuff. Is someone willing to consign it? Yeah, some random dude's going to show up in a pickup truck named Jim, and he's going to take it, and guess what? Well, you're never going to hear from Jim again. So that's why it's important to deal with, scrupulous companies, the ones that, are going to be able to take care of you and get you your money when it's done, but also has an audience of being able to get things. I mean, I'm able to say I have a very large audience of people on social media that I can say, hey, look what I just got. Is anyone interested? And then people go, wow, yeah, I am. And, well, it's on eBay. You can buy it. And they'll buy it. because you have that audience, like having a billboard. Like everybody in this world has their own billboard. It's whether or not it's in the desert or whether or not it's in Times Square. So if you have somebody that is no followers and just started out doing this, then be more cautious. You know, if they're going to put it in their store on eBay, then everybody's pretty much equal at that point, other than the feedback stuff where the whole world can see it. You just got to make sure they're not going to sell, you know, an ounce of 14 karat gold for $15, like, which happens all the time. There are people who don't know jewelry. That's why I say if you're going to consign jewelry, consign it with a company like mine that specializes in jewelry, and I have a gemologist that I deal exclusively with that I trust completely and does all of that for me. So when I sell jewelry, I make sure I get as much money for it as possible. And if somebody needs jewelry sold quickly, we do scrap prices, we do melt prices, we're able to get those things done. So it's a matter of whether or not people want a deal done quickly and they get not as much money, or if you want the long term, then we take consignment and we'll do that.
Right, right. I always am curious how people build their teams. So for yourself, when you first started building a team around you, what did you find was the most important role that you hired initially?
So what's funny is what's most important has kind of changed over time. Like I've had it that at first like all the people I hired were just eBay listers. And that was it. I was looking for eBay listers and I couldn't find them, and people would say to me like, well, if you hire somebody that's an eBay lister and you teach them the business, well, then they're just going to steal everything you do and then they're going to just do it on their own. Well, I have like how many thousands of videos on social media where I'm telling everyone literally for free how to make a fortune, and what percentage of people actually do it?
Right.
You know,
Viewership versus actual action is completely different. Yeah.
so most people's biggest fear when they have something that they fear is proprietary, but really isn't. What I do for a living isn't proprietary. Anyone can do this shit. The only difference is my hustle. Nobody will outwork me. I say that very clear and very loudly. I have yet to meet a human being on this earth that will outwork me. And whether or not that's true or not, you have to have that mentality. You have to have the mentality that you may not be the best looking, you may not be the richest, you may not have the most connections, you may not have the most social media following, but you can control one thing: how hard you work. And if you have it that nobody on this planet will outwork you and you have that mentality, I will hire that person 10 out of 10 times versus someone that has more experience. And that's the same thing in the restaurant industry. You get these people, and you hear it all the time. Would you rather have somebody that has a culinary degree and just got out of culinary school, or somebody who's been on the line for 4 years and has recommendations? Every single person that you speak to in the restaurant industry will say, I don't give a shit about the culinary degree.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Give me the person that's proven that they can do it. Mm-hmm. Because yet again, just like college, you don't really learn that much in college unless you're going to be like a nurse or something. Like for the most people who have just a liberal arts degree.
Right.
All that's telling you and telling an employer is that you can show up for 4 years and do something for 4 years and do it well enough that at the end of it you get a degree. That's it. I have a bachelor's degree in political science. That and a cup of coffee will get me a cup of coffee. But it does say to people when I was trying to get jobs, this is someone that can go to class, do what they're supposed to do, and eventually, get their degree.
Right. Where do you think you learned that mindset of hard work is going to take me where I need to be? Because I'm always like, at what point do you think that kind of set in for you?
So I come from what I'd like to say is a family of hard workers. So my parents taught in public schools for over 30 years. And, wake up early, get to class, teach all those kids, and then come home. And, that's when me and my brother Adam would come home, and they were there for us. And then, the rest of the day, and they were taking care of their kids. And I mean, that's not an easy job. I have one kid, Maximilian, and he's a lot of work just himself. So for my parents who had 2 kids and they still, managed to have time for us, there was never a time in my life that I ever felt that my parents didn't have time for me, even though they probably had a million other things they had to do. They always had time for me and my brother. And my brother, yet again, he'd started working for a DJ company at 14, and he was doing that. I mean, to the point where I was working as a DJ in clubs too when I was like 16, 17, because I saw him do it. I then went and tried my hand at it. It wasn't, I mean, listen, wasn't for me. I was working in a certain type of club that was enjoyable as someone in high school to get to watch the surroundings. I'll let you fill in the blanks there. But
As a DJ, I'm pretty confident I know what kind of surroundings
Yes.
you're talking about.
so I was doing that at 16 and 17, and it wasn't just the top. It was, the full gamut. So, it was a fun thing as a as a 17.
At that age, it's an amazing gig.
And that the place didn't care. I was a big guy, so I even worked as a bouncer at that place
Okay.
too. And so it was, I kind of got, as an early age, kind of learned a lot of things pretty quickly. And it's just, yet again, the day I turned 14 years old, I had a job at Richardson's Ice Cream, scooping ice cream. I had a handshake deal for the day I turned 14 that they hired me. And I was scooping ice cream at 14, and later that year, I started eBay, and I haven't looked back since. And I'm one of those people where if I wrote down in any given day what I did in one day, you would say that it is impossible for one person to have done everything that you did.
So I have two questions because I want to go back to 1 second where you were talking about Maximilian, then I want to come back to that hustle in terms of talking about your schedule. So I want to make sure I cover both. How do you teach Maximilian to continue that work ethic that you know is my first question. And, well, we'll go there and then I'll come back to the other one. Yeah.
So I talk to him all the time about hard work. And he says, Dad, I'm going to work hard. I want to work hard. I want to do eBay. He'll come downstairs. So I run my eBay business from the basement of my home. I've finished it so it's like, warehouse space. It's basically a warehouse. You would walk downstairs in my home and all of a sudden you're in a giant warehouse. So I made it like that, but he'll come down and he'll like, Dad, what can I do? What can I pack? What can I move? What can I do? Whatever. And he's learning little things here and there, which is great because obviously you want your kid to want to do what you do. And, my dream obviously would be to have him be a part of my business and do the business with me. And,
The first time you see him make a sale or negotiate, oh my
Yes.
God, that would be...
Well, he's learning. I have videos where I taught him the business in like the simplest forms, and he gets it in regards to like a commission, kind of like your percentage. Where you sell something, if you have a 50% commission, and you sell something for $1, you get 50 cents, and they get 50 cents. And I'm trying to teach him like that process, and he gets it. But having him see how hard I work. Sometimes he gets it. Other times and he's told me, Dad, I want you to play with me. I want you to do this. It's like, you're always busy. Dad, I want to go play soccer upstairs. Like, can you please finish up? And it's like, you want to say to him, like, buddy, you'll see these lights. You see the heat in this house where it's, 16 degrees outside, and the reason why you're sweating right now? Yeah, it's because Dad's doing the work right now to be able to pay off all of these bills that are never ending. But you can't say that to a 7-year-old.
No, they don't understand.
They don't understand how bills work, and when that American Express comes in, that bill's got to be paid.
Right.
And I gotta pack this item to get it out to somebody to get it done. But he's the best kid on earth, and I am slightly biased. But I love my son, and I want him to learn this business, and I want him to see what it is, and he does, and he sees the things that I do in regards to social media, and I incorporate him as much as I can. There are videos where I'm sponsored by eBay, and I always, whenever I'm sponsored by eBay, I do everything I can if he's around to have him be a part of that so that he gets to enjoy these moments. Because I do think of social media a little bit in a way that, one day, me, you, everyone's going to die, and what are we left with? We're left with the videos and the social media posts and things like that. I mean, things that I've experienced from going to flea markets and negotiate, all that stuff, it would just die in my head. It'd be another day. But because I had my video camera rolling on my phone and I was live and I cut that video up and I put it onto all the social media platforms, it lives forever. And now 15 years from now, or even 50 years from now, I hope I'm still alive when I'm in my 90s, but let's just say I'm not. 50 years from now, as long as the kings of eBay and all these social media sites are still around and don't go the way of MySpace, he'll be able to look back and see the videos and all the douchebag comments that people wrote, but he'll be able to see it, and to me that's important. That's like leaving a legacy in some ways to your kids.
Right. They see you working at your craft, and since you took the time to document it, it gives them a chance to look back and kind of appreciate those moments, because at that moment they might have not realized what it was. Right. Now, for yourself, when it comes to your schedule, what does a day typically look like for you? Like when you wake up and go.
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, there's certain people that work 9 to 5s. And for those people, I mean, I'm slightly envious that their day is just cut. They know I got to be at this place at 9 o'clock in the morning. I get to leave at 5 o'clock. I mean, I don't have a schedule in any given day where sometimes I'm here at my warehouse where I have to organize and do things. There are other times I'm on the road. I have currently doing a gigantic estate up in Tewksbury. And that is the auction for this estate will be going live shortly, or by the time this is on, probably already live. It'll be on a website called Auction Ninja. It's an over 300
Auction
item
Ninja.
Auction Ninja.
Okay.
Yeah, that's as of this moment is the best one for local pickup auctions. Is Auction Ninja for New England. So on that site, go to Tewksbury. You'll be able to see it. It's going to be over 300 items, including cars and a boat and tools and craziness. But all that stuff was trapped underneath 50 years of stuff. So, I mean, when I tell you it was a clean out, this was a massive clean out. Massive. 50 years of this family had been on this site since the 70s. And I don't know if anything had ever been thrown out. So my team has to go through, but what makes my company different is, as we're going through everything, I'm looking through and I'm analyzing to see what has value and what doesn't. The overwhelming majority of clean-out companies and junk removal companies, what they do is they throw everything out. They throw everything out. I went through and I find the 10% of stuff that still has value, the tools and all that stuff, and we auction it. So the family is able to recoup some of their money from the clean-out, and that stuff gets saved from the landfill. And people get a good deal because obviously, if you're buying it from an auction, you're getting a good deal. The majority of the time when you buy stuff from auctions, you do. It's just a win-win for everybody. Everybody does well from that.
Right. So your schedule will range on many different occasions on what you're doing based on what that day or month, week is looking like. Gotcha.
I mean, this coming Wednesday, I got to drive 51 miles to a location, and I have to be there at 7:30 in the morning, which means I'm going to be out of my house at 5:30 or something.
Sure, yeah, just to be safe. Yeah.
Just to be safe through traffic and through everything. So I just never know. Like there's times where I may literally have to spend my entire day behind a computer and I'm just getting listings done, or I'm working on sales calls, or it's crazy. There's sometimes working out of my house, sometimes I'm on the road, sometimes I'm at the warehouse, and then I have, my members of my team are all over the place because it depends on where I need them. So, and I manage all of it. And so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that within the next couple of years, my company will grow big enough where I'll be able to have dedicated people that can handle and take off a lot more stuff off my shoulders. But at the time, it's me, and I have people that do help. But, I'm the one that's got to make sure everything gets done. And if something gets messed up, it's my fault. Something goes well, hopefully it's my reason because of me. It's just everything at the end of the day falls on me. But when my team does well, they're rewarded for it. That's the thing about when you're in a business like mine, you're able to reward people when they do well. And anybody that works for my company, if they do something that's revenue generating, that brings money into my company, and it's because of them. Let's say they want me to sell their mother's house, or they have their best friend's cousin's aunt's sister has a house full of stuff. I would have never had that estate or had that home if it wasn't for them. I believe that they should be compensated for that. So we love at the Estate Kings to give commissions to people, and even other people come in. Like if you said to me, "Hey, I know somebody who's got a huge collection of sports collectibles. Here's the lead. If it comes through and I make money off of it, you deserve money from that."
Nice. That's awesome to hear that you take care of your team like that.
You got to take care of everybody.
Right. Now, what was the eBay Open like for you? Was that something that you thought you were definitely going to do, or how did those type of events fruition for you? How did eBay contact you to do those?
So I'm the chapter leader for eBay for New England. So eBay has chapters all throughout the country, all throughout the United States, where they have people that they've picked to run certain areas. So my chapter is called Boston Kings of eBay. You can go on eBay seller event page, find it, join it, and you don't even have to be from New England. You can be from anywhere because we do a lot of virtual events. And like, because I do that, my relationship with eBay is strengthened a lot. There's the spring seller check-in, which is happening tomorrow, which will have already happened by the time people see this. But I will be doing a networking session where I'm hosting an event to teach people about how to be able to get more viewers for your eBay listings. So that's a event that's broadcast, globally. But that's something where the trust is built between myself and eBay as a company, where they know that I'm somebody that's extremely knowledgeable, not just in reselling, but in their business. They consider me, and it's crazy to say this, I mean, think about going back in time to being a 14-year-old doing eBay, to say, hey, as a 41-year-old, eBay as an organization will refer to you as an expert on their site and have you do live events, online events, have private calls where you're asked questions, like all this stuff. I work with them all the time because they know if they're going to get somebody that knows their stuff in every aspect. And it's I take that as a great point of pride. I love the website eBay, even through times where they frustrate me with some of their decision making. Even with that being the case, I still love the website, still plan to use it until my last breath on this planet, and hope, to do everything I can to keep making it better and doing more events for them. And that eBay Open was a great event. We had a ton of people there.
It was.
Including Mr. Party Science himself.
Yes, sir.
We just found it to be, when you get that many people that have the same love, which is eBay and reselling, in one room, and you're just trading war stories of, I don't go to thrift stores, but there are people who do, and like, hey, I went to a thrift store today and bought a, $160 designer dress for $6.99 that the Goodwill missed that one, and and they were able to pay their car payment or help to pay their mortgage or child support or whatever bills they have due to the fact of reselling.
Do you have any stories that someone has shared with you that like kind of sits with you that they've learned from you or anything like that? From because you post all the time, so do you have has anybody shared stories of like learning from you that ended up rewarding them somehow financially? I would assume there's plenty.
So I get emails, like I don't talk about this and I don't share this stuff normally because there's so many people that they do social media so you'll buy a course from them. Buy my course, spend $99.99, and I'll teach you the secrets of reselling, and you'll become a millionaire like me. And it's all bullshit. It just is.
It is.
It really is. So my mentality is I have thousands of videos for free, and I tell people, anyone who wants to email me and ask me a question, for the last 5+ years of doing social media, I've never charged anyone $1 to email me, ask me a question, reach out to me on social media, and they do. And I mean weekly, I'm answering people's questions all the time. And one of the things that keeps coming back to me, and people tell me these stories, I don't talk about it because that's not why I do this, but, hey, I saw a video or I saw a live where you talked about buying musical instruments. Well, I went to a yard sale and I bought a saxophone for $20 and I sold it for $700. Because of you, I now can pay my rent. During COVID is really when I went full bore on teaching people all the things you need to be able to be successful, the things you'll find, the easy flips. Because I love Pawn Stars and I love American Pickers. Big fan, seen every single episode, obsessed with both shows. But no one's walking into a store with $1 million item, for most people. Like most people, like nowadays on American Pickers, they're talking about buying $6,000 porcelain signs and $150,000 motorcycles. Like that's not realistic to you and me. It just isn't. My mentality is I want to teach people about the stuff that you can buy day after day for $5 or $10 and flip for $50 to $100. Those things exist. During the summer, I go to, on every Saturday, I try to go to between 70 to 100 yard sales every single Saturday. To me,
Wait, you try to do every summer you do that many or every Saturday?
every Saturday.
Holy shit. How many?
70 to 100 every Saturday.
My dude.
Yeah. So
Holy shit.
that's what I do, and I love it. I mean, that's my favorite thing. Even if I was a billionaire, like Gary Vee, I'd still be going to yard sales. When you do it and you make that money, it's addicting. To me, that's fun. If I said to my girlfriend, I hope you understand on Saturdays, we're going to be going to yard sales, and I think she gets it. Yeah? Yeah, she's ready. So, like, that's going to be something where when you see it and you're able to experience where people are clearing out the stuff that they deem garbage, and me, with the knowledge I have, am able to know that $10 item that you have labeled that I'm going to knock you down to 5 and then resell for 125. But then I don't just do it once. I do it again and again and again and again. You know, you go to yard sale, and I have a whole system down with the GPS and the cars running, GPS, okay, stop, do this one. And I just hit them all out. And my record was in 2 days. There was a Saturday and a Sunday. There was one place that did their yard sales on a Sunday and a Saturday. I went with a friend of mine, Jesse, who's Down Seller Antiques on social media. We went on Saturday and we hit about 70 yard sales. Then Sunday morning, we were at a flea market in Raleigh called Todd's Farm at 5 o'clock in the morning. From 5 to 8, we were at that flea market. Then him and I left that flea market and we hit right next door in Georgetown 70 more yard sales. So in one weekend, we hit a flea market that we were at for 3 hours buying a tons of stuff, and then we did 140 yard sales in one weekend.
That's sick.
Yeah,
That's
but I mean,
fucking awesome.
the money you can make, the stuff, it's you know, there are people who have a sickness of hoarding. I have a sickness of buying and selling, you know, so I don't like having stuff. I would sell everything I own if I can find the right buyer. Like, I buy like a maniac because it's all getting listed. It's all, you know, I have a photographer, I have everything set up. So I buy all the stuff from to the left of where I'm currently sitting. It gets put in here, whether it's a business. Like next to me, I have a ton of car parts. I just bought out an Advanced Auto Parts that closed. You know, these are the kind of things that you don't, to most people, when you tell them, yeah, what'd you do this weekend? Well, I went with my girlfriend to an Advanced Auto Parts and we bought out the store. And it's like, that's what you did. It's like, yeah, that's what we did. Like, you know, and to most people, they don't realize that that's actually an option. You know, there's all these businesses that are closing right now, and they don't realize that, you know, where do they end up? Well, I can tell you where, you know, Bob's store is the clothing store? Mm-hmm. Okay, you know Eastern Mountain Sports?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm the one that bought out those stores. Okay, so if you're wondering where all that inventory for that 14,000 pieces of clothing and all the tooling and all the stuff, all that stuff, where did it end up? It ended up in this warehouse, all of it. And
That's
then it
awesome.
all got listed. It's all on eBay and Amazon as we speak, and the rest got wholesaled out. But I look at these businesses and they're closing, and it's just, you know, I'm drooling over it. I know for a lot of people, yet again, it's like a vulture with a cadaver. But at the same time, I'm not the one that screwed up those businesses. I'm not the one that told Joanne Fabrics to run their business into the ground. But I'm sure as hell going to be the one that's going to go through and buy as many of them as I can.
Right. It can't be blamed for the opportunity. They started the business. If they couldn't keep it open, you're just there to help at the end of the process.
Right? I'm sorry Eastern Mountain Sports went out of business. But I'm not sorry at the profit I've made from buying everything that they had left.
I don't blame you, bro. Fucking yeah, hell yeah, bro. This is the job. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So walk me through the feeling of buying out a store. Like, that's such a boss fucking move. Like, just give me like a breakdown of like, what are you thinking? Like, how does it go down?
The deals are negotiated months in advance ahead of time.
Okay.
So that's the thing. I've been a vendor for these companies that do these things for 20 plus years. It's not something that anyone can just walk in and go, yes, I'd like to buy the store, sir. You have to have lines of credit. You have to have the right insurance. You have to have relationships. You have to know there's a whole lot of stuff on the back end that you have to do to be able to even be given the opportunity to do that. And I've proven it time over time over time. Now, you don't make money every single store. And sometimes you buy a store, turns out to be a loser. Doesn't happen very often for me, very infrequently. But if you give up after that, or you complain or whatever, you're not getting that phone call. It's you keep buying, and you have to buy everything. So if there's expired food on that shelf, they're ringing it up and you're buying it. Like, you can't just say, no, I'll take this side and I won't take this. Tough shit.
Yeah.
You better show up with a crew, and you're taking all of it. And that's what I think a lot of people, they don't have the stomach for it. They don't have either they don't have the capital, they don't have the stomach for it, they don't have the time for it, they don't have the patience for it. They're just not willing to do it. I've done it. I don't even know how many hundreds of stores that I've purchased since I was 15 years old, that to this point it just becomes like old hat. But it is fun.
Just another day. I
just
bought
another
another
day.
sentence, another day.
That's what it is, though. You know?
I get it, yeah.
What's fun? I had a couple of good moments. Like, so one I did capture on social media, and I think it has like 150,000 views on
Nice.
Facebook, and they're all the comments, like 99% of the comments are all negative. It's me walking into the Eastern Mountain Sports Store.
I've seen this video.
You saw the video,
I've seen
yeah.
the video.
Yeah, I think it's got 150,000-ish views. That's just on Facebook. It's got a gazillion other views on TikTok and Instagram. But I walk into Eastern Mountain Sports, and I have the camera filming, and I tell everybody in the store to leave. Okay? Because I have the right to do it, because at the second I step foot in that store, I now own everything in that store. It's mine. I bought it. So that's what happened. And I told everyone to leave, and they left, and then people tried to walk in, and I say to them, I just bought out the store. And then the gate, the metal gate that, like, you know, when it's closed, that just starts coming down, done. See you later. Business is mine. And a lot of people thought it was like the douchiest thing ever and whatever. But you know what? Even if it was, that is my life. Like, I walk into a business, I'm the last face. I'm the last face that Bob's Stores and Eastern Mountain Sports ever saw. I was the last customer that they ever had was me. And not many people can say that about a business, but that's the truth. And I have the video evidence of proving that, you know, when that last store closed in Middleton, Massachusetts for Bob's Stores, it's my crew that's grabbing the stuff and putting it into my cargo van. Like, that's the business. So, like, I had that moment, and a lot of people, listen, on social media, like, it's, you know, some stuff gets blown up a little bit where people are like, oh, this guy's like the biggest asshole, whatever.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's my job. At the end of the day, like, that's my job. Like, I go and I buy out businesses, and it's not always pretty. And a lot of people, you know, you're a capitalist or whatever. Yeah. You know, if I see the ability to be able to make money legally, I'm going to do it, and that's
Absolutely.
legal to do it.
Absolutely.
The other moment I had, now this was to me, was something that meant a lot to me. So I started buying out businesses, like I said, when I was 15. And you have to understand, my parents, I couldn't drive. My parents would be driving me to these businesses where I would go in and I would be buying out these businesses and handling and moving companies. Everything came to our home in Peabody, and it all got, you know, sorted and everything. I did it all. You know, in high school, had like no friends in high school. I didn't do any sports in high school or anything. And I was asked to do, you know, I was a big dude. They wanted me to do football. Nope, making too much money. Tough shit, zero interest. You want to go, kids going on trips, nope. I have to be home. I have to do eBay from the second I wake up, package all my stuff to the second I get home, go into the post office. I was a machine at doing it. Hundreds of thousands of items sold while I was in high school. And very few people would have had that work ethic or would have had that ability to do it or been willing to give up on everything else in their life to do it. But I did. So I had a full-scale thing was Bob's Stores in Middleton was my local clothing store. You're going to go and get clothes for school. That's where you went shopping. That's where. So I bought the store out. And my mom, who, you know, at the time lived right down the street in my childhood home, which is now, you know, for sale, that I'm selling for her, and she's moving. But she was able to drive down and surprise me and come to that store and see me buying out the store. And it was like, and the workers said to her, like, oh, this must be crazy. You're seeing your son, you know, buy out the store. Like, because, you know, I had like 15 to 20 employees. Every employee at Bob's Stores, all 15 to 20 of them, I was their customer. They were checking me out at every single register because everything has to be scanned. So all the registers, all the clothing racks, everything, it's just me. You know, with my American Express.
You don't even think about them having to go item by item.
they
Holy
have to.
shit.
Yeah. I ended up buying 14,000 pieces of clothing.
And every single piece has to
Every
be
piece
scanned.
has to be scanned.
And your mom's sitting there watching this.
My mom's sitting watching as her son sees where every single lane is all the way backed up. I've got my team there helping, and, you know, they got to take all the security tags off. They got to do all that stuff. And it's not just clothes, it's shoes. It's the whole friggin' store. And one of the workers said to my mom, like, wow, that must be crazy to you to see your kid doing this. And my mom said, he's been doing this for, you know, since he was a kid. Like, I saw him do this, 20 plus years ago when he was in high school. Like this isn't like this is new to me seeing it now, like because but because it was down the street. My mom typically doesn't follow me to most of my like job sites and stuff, but this was one of those times where it was awesome, where she was just kind of sitting and watching all the stuff getting rung up, and then you think about it like moments where you're as like I'll be proud of my son for things that he does, like my mother being proud of seeing her son being successful in life, where he's buying out businesses as a 41-year-old that he built. No one knew what this kind of a business or to make it. I created this whole business, and sometimes you think about that, where there you could go and do a franchise, or you could there's franchises for estate sale companies. I didn't want that. I had a vision of everything I wanted, and sometimes people can't see my vision. It's always in my head, and people can see it at the end. They can't always see it at the beginning. And like at my house, and I have a video on social media where my son comes home and he sees the clothes from Bob's Stores and Eastern Mountain Sports that's sitting in like an avalanche-sized pile. He's a little over 4 feet. He's 7 years old, and it was like double his height. Like and he got to see it, and he's like, "Oh my God, wow!" But he's getting these moments, and I sometimes forget the fact that my mother would come to her house and see that I just bought out a video game store, and is like 50 video game systems sitting there. I'd have friends that would say, "Hey, I want to buy a PlayStation." All right, I got 45 of them. You know what I mean?
Make a good offer.
Hey, I would go to school and people would buy PlayStations from me. I'd get them all the time. There used to be a magazine called The One Advertiser, and I would go through and I would buy every single video game. I'd call up and say, "Okay, you have this? Great." Be like, I wouldn't drive to them. This is back when you could trust people, and not one time did someone screw me over, where I would mail them a money order. $50, $100, $200, $300, whatever, buying an entire video game system. I'd send them the money order. They'd 1 week later have it. And there'd be times where there'd be 40 boxes delivered to me. I'm buying every single video game system in the entire One Advertiser, or all the CDs or whatever. It's normal to me.
You were meant to do this.
This is something that I enjoy, though. Like I was in sales. Listen, I'm not going to hide. I made a lot of money doing sales. I had the largest deal in the history of every single company I ever worked for. And I worked for a lot of companies. Every company I ever worked for, when I worked there, the largest deal in the history of the company at the time I worked there. I'm sure everything was beaten years later, whatever. But it took that mentality where I could have stayed in sales, but I was miserable. Like, you're making money for other people, and I did well, financially I did well, but if you sign $1 million deal for somebody and you end up getting 15, 20 grand, you can be happy you just got a $15,000 or $20,000 commission. But in the back of your head, you're going, they just made $980,000. The wheels start churning a little bit. Not everybody thinks like that, but I did.
Yeah. It's a great mindset. As someone who I am all about that, how do I maximize profits for myself if I'm going to put in this effort? It makes complete sense. Now, we're about to wrap up just because I know we're running short on time. So I got 2 questions for you. One is, well, we'll start with this one is, so let's say we're going to start from the beginning all over again. Everything you have now gets erased. You go back to that 1997 version of you, and all the lessons you've learned, you can only take one lesson with you. That one lesson you'll take back to the beginning, and that one lesson is what's going to help you to get back here. What is that lesson?
Buy Bitcoin.
Okay. All right.
Outside of that.
Yeah.
I think, the easy thing is to be able to say, work hard and find the right business partners or whatever. If I could sit down with my 14-year-old self and just have a conversation with me, and and not giving secrets of like, buy Bitcoin and Google's going to be a big thing, and and Facebook and all that, I would say the smartest thing that you could do would be to get immediately into estate sales. Forget college, forget all that. Keep doing eBay, do estate sales, keep buying out businesses, but keep scaling and margin. That's all you have to think about, is scaling and margin. The 2 words I say to bed in my head every single night before I go to sleep is scale and margin. That's all I care about when it comes to this business. And for those people who don't know what that means, margin is just how much money you make off of a given item. You buy something for $10, sell it for $20. it's 100% margin, but at the same time, you only made $10. Like, you want to be able to have it that you buy something for $10 and you sell it for 100, and after fees and everything else, maybe you walk away with 50 or 60, and that's a pretty good margin on one item if you can then extrapolate that, which is the scale side. You can do that 100 times or 200 times or 500 times. That's how you're able to get a warehouse. That's how you're able to get a team that goes from like one person to like 50 people. That's how you're able to have it that someone calls you and says, hey, I've got 15 businesses that are closing and I need auctions for all of them. Can you handle it? And you can say yes. Like, I don't ever want to be at the point where I say no to business, but I've gotten to the point where there are certain jobs that I didn't take because I realized it just wasn't going to make sense for me to, if I did that one job, I wasn't going to be able to do any others. So you want to be able to have it that you keep scaling and doing margin, and that if I could say to myself even later on, there would just be so many lessons of things I learned. But I am the person I am today because of all the mistakes. I'm a divorced dad of a 7-year-old. And there's a lot of things that people will say to you of, oh, you got divorced, probably a lot of things about love and life and things that you would learn and probably tell your younger self. But if I did that, I wouldn't be the man I am today. I wouldn't be able to say that I suffered and went through such horrible things, to know that I don't ever want to make someone else go through those things. I don't ever want to experience those things. And sometimes you got to get punched in the face a few times to really learn what it takes to have to fight for what you want. And I have. Nothing in this life was given to me. I fought. I don't come from money. I'm the son of 2 teachers. I'm a middle-class kid from the suburbs of Peabody, and I was able to take that to where I am today, and I'm proud of where I am today and how I've used social media to help people. And I just feel like if I can do it, anyone can. It's just hard work, and that work ethic is all you really need.
Right. Now, as we wrap up here, where can people find you on social media? What's your user handles? Like, what's the best way to contact you?
I have this. I have the big one on the back, but I'm Kings of eBay on all social media platforms. My largest 2 platforms are TikTok and Facebook, followed closely by Instagram. I'm on YouTube as well and Threads. But I will say this: I'm the group of people, the reseller community that I'm closest to is TikTok. I unabashedly have no problem admitting and calling myself a TikToker. I go live all the time. I love TikTok. It's a big part of my life. I've made lifelong friends from TikTok, people that don't even live near me, but just had that mentality of they have the same personality and hustle that I do, that there's so many friends that I've known for a long time locally that have fallen off where they just didn't have that same thought process of me of wanting to build a business and working hard and having that work ethic and just happy the way things were. And I'm just someone that's always fighting, always trying to be better and work harder. And I found that group of people on TikTok that 1 o'clock in the morning, somebody's alive talking about reselling, and to be able to just jump in and like, oh, hey, Kings of eBay, hey, what'd you sell today? Or having that community is awesome. And I recommend that if you are a reseller or if you're interested in reselling, to go on to TikTok, follow me, and I'm more than happy to share a long list of people that you should be following as well.
Awesome. Brian, thank you so much for your time, bro. I genuinely appreciated this. This was a lot of fun. And to know that you're such a killer salesperson, that makes complete sense on all the negotiations I've seen of you. But thank you for your time, man. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. Kings of eBay. I'll put a social media up. Other than that, laters. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, man.
That was fun.
Yeah.